Good afternoon. The housing market can be a confusing and frightening place at the best of times. And let's face it, these are certainly not the best of times. The last 4 weeks or so have arguably caused the most dramatic shift in market conditions since 2009. As the government's handling of the economy and Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng, remember them? Their mini budget caused the financial markets to go into meltdown, which in turn gave the Bank of England jitters and caused them to hike interest rates at the fastest rate for 40 years and to the highest rates we have seen in years at now around 5-6%. And we may not have seen the last of these rate rises. As a result, every TV, radio, news outlet, newspaper and so-called property expert have been giving their doomsday predictions on house prices falling off a cliff, with prices predicted to come down over the next year or so, anything from a modest 3 to 5% to 30%, depending on whose indices and data you believe. So what's really going on? I've tried to cut through the jargon, the myths, the hot air, and give you the 7 things you need to know right now about the Cheadle property market. Number 1, how is the market behaving? It's definitely splintering. Purchasers who need mortgages are definitely stalling, faced with alarming repayment rates on top of rising costs of living. Many have decided now to wait and see what happens with rates and prices. However, there are still a significant number of what I call the need to move buyers in the marketplace. So whilst it isn't all doom and gloom, the market has certainly gone considerably quieter, at least for now. But those who don't need a mortgage are divided. Some are pausing while others are moving ahead with their plans, particularly if they can spot an opportunity. There is a further group of buyers currently proceeding with a sale who are pressing on and trying to get their purchase over the line before the expiry of their current mortgage offer. Number 2, house prices, what's happening? The heat has come out of the market, there's no doubt, although statistics are taking time to catch up, and the latest figures from HMRC, which cover the number of homes sold in September, show that the market has been resilient, but these sales will have gone through with mortgages agreed 3 to 5 months ago. However, the property portal Rightmove said today that prices have dropped on average 1.1% in the last month, which equates to around £4,159, and had dropped in every region in the country. Here in the northwest, prices have dropped about the national average, but it is important to qualify that by saying prices are still up 7.5% year on year, but that of course will continue to drop as the market drops off. It's important for motivated sellers to realise that the housing market was heavily impacted by COVID pandemic, and arguably the market was significantly overheated. So if prices do drop back a little now, they will still likely be higher than before the start of the pandemic. And of course, for sellers buying on, their next property will be affected in the same way. Rising mortgages and mortgage rates put a downward pressure on house prices, but against a backdrop of still reasonable demand here in SK8 and SK3 and dramatically reduced supply, although that's rising again, the effects aren't as obvious as maybe in other areas. But for those who are keen to sell, sensible pricing will now be the key to achieving a sale. 3, should I buy now? Well, this is the question I'm being asked most often at the moment, and the simple answer is yes or no. And I know that isn't a simple answer, but let me try and explain. A recent survey from the Building Societies Association revealed that the number of people who think it is a good time to buy has fallen to its lowest level since 2008. But historically, people have tended to do better when taking the plunge and buying when the majority are nervous, rather than when the market is buoyant and booming. My view is if you are in the need to move category and you can financially afford to do so, which is the key here, why not? Let's remember, buying over the last year or so has been incredibly difficult for many buyers, often competing with multiple other buyers, prices escalating to eye-watering sums way above the asking price and what the house was probably worth, which could leave some with high percentage mortgage loans in danger of falling into negative equity. At least now, with a cooler, less pressured market, increasing stock levels to choose from, potential to negotiate a lower price and not have to enter into a Dutch auction, it could be a good time to buy if you're buying for the long term and can find the right house, then I'd go for it. 4, what is negative equity? Well, what it is a miserable experience for anyone involved. It's when a property is worth less than the mortgage on it, meaning the owners are trapped between selling at a loss or potentially battling repossession if they start to have difficulty repaying the mortgage loan. The last major crisis in the UK happened in the early 1990s, but as the Bank of England continued to raise interest rates to try and tackle runaway inflation, some are predicting the base rate could be 6% by June 2023, and mortgage rates often hover about 1% above that rate, so repayments are going to be more expensive. This is particularly trying for many first-time buyers who bought with a 10% deposit. They could all be in negative equity if prices drop by 20%. 5, should I rent instead? There are many potential buyers who, in all the uncertainty, are now considering renting, for the next year or so until the market settles down again. This could be an option. However, the challenge for many is finding something to rent. Stock is historically low and rents are growing very strongly with the high demand versus supply, certainly in Cheadle and the surrounding area. When there is a change in the sales market, funnily enough, the rental one immediately reacts, and we're seeing a lot of movement. The rental market is generally in a strong position, although some caution has crept in, but taking a breather and playing a watching and waiting brief is seemingly appealing to more and more would-be buyers. 6, why is the sales process taking so long? One of my pet subjects. The process of buying a house relies on a good communication between a set of easily combustible partners. Sales chains can have multiple components and anything can go wrong at the time with one link in the chain and the whole thing can collapse. There is a very delicate balance, and one of the most important and probably underappreciated tasks that a good estate agent undertakes is to help them move along and hold it together. What's holding things up further is the fact that lending criteria has become much stricter. Also, conveyancing solicitors are overwhelmed with work, and it is often fairly junior members of staff. On average, it's taking 5 months to complete a purchase, up 23% from 2019. So what are the options to avoid this problem? Finding a solicitor who is extremely proactive and a good communicator. Word of mouth far outweighs any online search and avoids the temptation to opt for the cheapest one. As with estate agents, you get what you pay for, I'm afraid. Number 7, is this the right time to extend or renovate? Well, this is hard to calculate as there's no guarantee that the money will be made back in the prices over the coming years. It might improve the saleability of the house, but the cost of building an extension has risen approximately 30% since the start of the pandemic, as the cost of materials has shot up, and actually finding a good builder to do the work is a job in itself, with the good ones often booked up with work a year ahead. Buyers with families generally prefer a turnkey property that is ready to move into, but if you are looking for more outside space or a different location for various reasons, staying put and extending will not solve those problems. So there we have it. Sadly, there is no definitive right or wrong answer. Every potential home buyer and seller must do their due diligence, weigh up the pros and cons, take financial advice to check the affordability, which is the most important thing, and then either take the plunge and start viewing properties, put theirs on the market, and hopefully find the right home at the right price. Alternatively, if you are uncertain, or it is a push financially, it might be advisable to hang fire and see what the market is doing in the next 6 to 12 months. Remember the old saying, act in haste, repent at leisure. If you are still thinking of moving and would like to know the current value of your Cheadle home and where ideally to position it in the market to sell, please call me on 0161 428 3663 or email me mk@mkiea.co.uk. Or you can book a free market appraisal and home consultation online at www.mkiea.co.uk. Thank you for watching.